I will have to get straight into this one because I've got a lot of perfumes to talk about. So the first autumn winter this I did was for kind of fusspots like me who like things that are light but still want things that are kind of autumn appropriate. The second one is my stuff that I consider to be sweet and syrupy, you know. So it has some kind of like syrupy quality to it that means that I can't wear it in warmer months. So these are the things that I save until it's a bit cooler, generally speaking. So let's start with this guy now. This one seems to be getting harder to find, unfortunately, so I'm not sure if, well, I mean, I'm guessing that means it's been discontinued, but you can still get it for under 30 quid. Now this is Kim Kardashian Pure Honey, and I consider this to be a sweet, ever so slightly tangy but not massively tangy honey and honeysuckle scent. I mean, I love these bottles personally. I absolutely love the colour. I think it's gorgeous, and the general scent of it, it's not gourmand to me because it's too flowery, but it's got a lovely kind of honeyed quality to it without being just honey, if you see what I mean. So Pure Honey is top notes of mandarin blossom, freesia and red rose. Middle notes are beeswax, honey, honeysuckle and orchid. Base notes are coconut, vanilla and musk. I don't get lots of coconut. I don't get loads of vanilla. It is sweet. I get mainly, like I said, the honey and the honeysuckle. And there is a slight kind of very slight citrusy fruitiness from that mandarin blossom. But to me, a lot of honeysuckle and a lot of honey. And it doesn't quite lean into that urinal honey that some honey perfumes can. Because I think there's so much honeysuckle in it, but it's very, very pretty. And I'm really looking forward to wearing this one because it has been in my cupboard for a long time while it's been hot weather, because it's not massively strong. I think this is like relatively gentle, but as you can imagine, because it's honey, it's quite sweet, right? So I just don't go too nuts with it. So that's Kim Kardashian Pure Honey. Just put that there. It's gorgeous. I love that bottle. Next on the list. Oh yes, very happy about this. So this is La Rive, My Only Wish. Now this is the La Rive dupe for Cacharel Yes I Am, the original one. And I liked Cacharel Yes I Am from the sample, but there's just something about all of those perfumes, and I think it's the lactonic notes in it mixed with the florals that just are a little bit cloying to me, only a little bit. But there's something about that original one that just made me want to keep going back to smell it. So I just kind of figured I'd try the La Rive because they tend to be a bit lighter and they're not normally identical clones. There's normally something a bit different about them. I'm very glad I got this because the La Rive clone is a little bit more fruity and slightly less cloying. It's a little bit brighter. It doesn't feel quite as thick, even though it still has that slightly lactonic vibe to it. So the notes in this one, top notes, raspberry, tangerine, lemon and bergamot. Middle notes of ginger flower, jasmine, gardenia, amber, orange blossom and rose. Base notes, caramel, benzoin, cardamom, vanilla, milk, amber, coumarin, which looks like tonka bean to me, so I assume it's like a similar thing, sandalwood and licorice. So I think that the cardamom and licorice are not quite as strong in this. Don't think the jasmine's quite as strong either. And it's just very pretty and it's really enjoyable to wear. And I think that this is, let me just see, this is a 100ml eau de parfum, and this cost me about £8, I think, maybe £7 something. So absolute bargain, these La Rive perfumes. And I think this is just like really yummy to me. I just think it's really, really nice. Next up we have one that is relatively new to me as well. This is, let me just try and start moving things. Guess by Marciano, by Guess obviously. And this one is one that I saw Ksenia talking about a really long time ago, and I keep looking at it and I just thought, you know what, I can get it for 20 quid, I'm just going to try it. This is also an eau de parfum. This is 100ml, and this is a really difficult perfume to describe. So it's it has a tartness to it because it's quite fruity at first, and because there's an alcohol note, there is an alcohol-y vibe to it. But the deep dry down is like a comforting sweet smell, and it weirdly reminds me of the smell of dolls, like the smell of dollies. And I don't mean like Barbie dolls, I mean like the sweet plasticky smell from like baby dolls from when I was little. It's got a real kind of sweet plasticky smell, which is enough to put anyone off, really, to be honest. So it's a bit of a weird journey you go on with this, but the deep dry down of it is kind of an addictive smell, so it's an odd one. I'm trying to decide at the moment how I feel about this. So the notes in this are, so it's blue curacao, which when I was a kid we all called Caraco, which is the liquor, the blue liquor. Starfruit, cardamom, grapefruit. Middle notes honeysuckle, jasmine and peony. Base notes vanilla, musk and woody notes. And it's very hard to describe what's going on here. Really is really hard. I have worn it and I still wouldn't really know. There's definitely that kind of sharp fruity booziness when you first spray it. It's sort of sweet and tart. I think you could probably argue that some people would find this has notes that seem like they're fighting each other, and it sort of does, but it's also actually quite pretty. So I wanted to put it in here because I would never be able to wear this outside of cold weather because it is quite syrupy. But yeah, there's something weirdly addictive about this. It's quite an unusual perfume, I would say, but I quite like it. So let's do a little bit of a swap here. Let's put this over here. And then I'm going to put this one here because I'm going to try and go through these in terms of like big bottles, smaller bottles, you know. Right, next up. Oh, this is my perfume of the day, and I love this. Now, this has been discontinued as it seems as this one, but because you can still get this on Amazon and eBay, I wanted to put it in anyway, just because it is absolutely delicious. So this is Sarah Jessica Parker's stash, and this is the Unspoken edition, the flanker. And this perfume is sweet, powdery, comforting heaven. It's so beautiful. So the notes in this are top notes of quince and pink pepper, middle notes of honeysuckle, peony and wisteria, base notes of tonka bean, sandalwood, musk and olibanum. Now, I did toss up whether I was going to put this in my what's it called, in the next edition of the autumn winter perfumes, which is going to be the one with the woody stuff. But because it's so sweet and the other stash is much more woody, I figured that it kind of belonged in my brain more in here because there's a lot of tonka bean in this. Tonka bean is like top of all the notes here. I get tonka bean, sandalwood, honeysuckle, quince. And then the olibanum and the pink pepper are just kind of making the base slightly warmed and slightly spiced. Like, there is a slight incensey vibe, but it's so minimal. It's mainly honeysuckle, tonka bean, and to stop that being cloying, just a bit of quince. Like, it's such a pretty perfume, this one. It's so cozy and comforting. So if you can find this one, I highly recommend it. I think it's gorgeous. So that's Stash, Unspoken. Oh, this is a bit out of left field. So this is an ancient perfume. Not in terms of I've had it for like, 50 years or whatever, but I think this is from like 1820 or something like that, 1850, when this first came out. So this is LT Piver. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, I apologise. And it's Heliotrope Blanc. Now this is called a lotion, so I think that's a lotion has maybe even a lower concentrate than cologne, I think, but I find this to be quite powerful. So Heliotrope Blanc, as you can see, it comes in like this old school splash bottle. I literally just saw on Fragrantica recently that they're going to have a rebranding because they've got a new owner, so I imagine they'll start putting them in spray bottles. I don't know whether they'll change the formulation. Now this is almond and heliotrope mainly. So the notes in this: heliotrope, almond, vanilla, ylang and jasmine. And I mean, to my nose, it's almond, heliotrope and vanilla, but it has like a honeyed quality to it. There's something about it that I think smells like there's honey in it. It also, honestly, smells quite old-fashioned. So although the dry down is kind of sweet almondy, heliotropy, powdery, it's not modern smelling. It's got like an old school vintagey perfume smell about it at the same time. It's amazingly strong for the fact that it's a lotion, but it also, in terms of like, you will just smell it for a long time, but it's not like beast mode projection or anything. Like just literally taking it out of the box, I've got it all over my fingers because there's a problem with splash bottles. They do tend to leak a little bit, but it's just a very pleasant, sweet, sort of yummy classic smell, this one. And it's probably quite good if you're quite fussy about almondy smells and you don't want anything that actually smells like marzipan, because I don't think this one veers into marzipan territory. So anyway, yeah, a bit of a random one, that, but I also saw it. I was very annoyed because I got this for like 20 quid. I think it was Fragrance X when I got this, but I saw it recently in TK Maxx on Oxford Street, so I was like, really? Oh my god. Okay, so next one, a quick sniff. This might seem even more random because it's a green fragrance, but the reason I'm putting this in, and this is Herbae by L'Octane en Provence. So Herbae is, to me, quite syrupy, but it's still very fresh and green. And when I was younger, I just wore green fragrances all year round because I've kind of grown way more tolerant of sweet perfumes as I've aged, because I didn't really used to wear things according to season. I just found perfumes that I liked and I just wore them all the time. So I didn't really vary. I had my I'll have like a floral one, and then I'll have like a green one, I'll have a fruity one, and I just wear whatever I fancy whenever I fancy, and I didn't really think much more about it. But Herbae is a gorgeous, gorgeous perfume, and there is a honeyed syrupiness about this that I think means that even though it's green, I don't really wear it in hot weather. I only really want to wear this when it's cooler. So, and this is also the one that reminds me of my beloved old signature perfume that was discontinued long ago, which is called La Belle Suriki. And if you've watched my channel for ages, you've probably seen that quite a few times now. So the notes in Herbae are top notes of bergamot, pink pepper and ambrette. Middle notes of blackberry, nettle blossom and nettle, rosehip and clary sage. Base notes grass, musk, honey, cashmerian, wheat and coumarin, which again I think is like, I wonder if it's just the French word for tonka bean, quite possibly. Now this, it's crazy because it does have like a lovely fruity vibe. It's got like a slightly zingy vibe. It's got a beautiful green herbal vibe. It's got that kind of lovely, I mean, there's something about that wheat with the sweetness, the honey and the coumarin that's just, it's just syrupy in a bright and fresh way. It's very, very pretty. So if you're someone who likes green perfumes, it doesn't mean that you have to stop wearing them just because it's autumn, winter. Like, you just can find something like this, which still has that kind of honeyed quality, which I think makes it really, really nice for colder months. Okay, now something that's a little bit syrupy, but also has a freshness as well. So pretty. So this is Hugo Boss, and this is the scent Intense. So this is the intense version, and what I like about the intense version is that the parts of it that are intense are the cocoa powder and the peach and the honey. So it's still got that kind of osmanthusy vibe of the original, and it still shares a lot of the general scent profile of the original, but the peach is massively amped up. And to my joy, it's not a sharp peach. It's not like a freshly sliced peach mixed with honey, because that would probably make me feel a bit sick. It is a very, very syrupy peach, as in like almost like a tinned peach, but it's almost like a tinned peach that the syrup is made out of honey, if you see what I mean. So the top, it's really simple notes here. Top notes, peach and honey. middle notes are osmanthus, base notes cacao and vanilla. And I know that this is like a roasted cocoa because I remember looking at the actual notes from Hugo Boss. And it's just lovely, and I am a real fussy person when it comes to peach, but they've just managed to nail peach in the Hugo Boss, like the scent range. Like they've really, really managed to make them very lovely indeed. And again, this one's just a little bit too syrupy for me to wear like in hotter months. So I have the Pure Accord, which is the one that I would wear like in hotter weather, and then I have quite a few of these now because I really like this range. So I have more of them to come, but this is the one that I think of as my kind of syrupy one. So next up, this won't be a surprise to anyone because I'm obsessed with this at the moment. Lovely. This is Britney Spears, and this is the original Prerogative. Now, I would say quite happily that... let me just make sure, there we go, that's a bit better. It's getting a bit dark, wasn't it? So this perfume is a coffee perfume, but I think it's really, really subtle in the coffee, and I think it's super, super easy to wear. It's really, really creamy, pretty, comfy, cozy and warm, and it has a syrupy quality to it, which is beautiful, even though if you look at the notes, there's nothing in here that would suggest it would be as sweet and syrupy as it is, but it is. So the notes in Prerogative, and this is supposed to be unisex, but it definitely to my nose leans a bit feminine. So the top notes are apricot, goji berries and pink pepper. Middle notes are coffee, saffron, red lily. Base notes sandalwood and amberwood. And it's hard to work out what this smells like from those notes, because I do think this has like a slight dolce de leche kind of smell to it, with a hint of coffee, a little bit of fruit, a little bit of sandalwood maybe, but it's really like smooth wood. And the other one that's really good is the Ego flanker to this is really, really nice as well, so I highly recommend that. I think that's a lovely perfume. So yeah, the Rave one not so much, but this one and Ego, if you can get either of them for a good price, they're both lovely. Ego smells exactly like this, but with much more amped up fruits, so it's got just more apricot and more goji berry, but they are like the actual underlying scent is very similar. So I absolutely love that one. I think it's absolutely lush. I do crave wearing that one a lot, to be honest. Speaking of one I crave, I haven't worn this for ages. Gonna have to get it back out again because it's absolutely lush. So this is Guess Seductive Red, and it is scrumptious and delicious, and I love this one, and it is a cherry almond perfume. Now I'll give you the notes real quick. Top notes cherry, almond and pink pepper. Middle notes cherry blossom, magnolia and violet. Base notes vanilla, tonka bean and sandalwood. And this randomly, despite again not sharing any of the same notes as far as I can tell really, has a Baccarat Rouge sort of cloud profile to it, but it's not as beastly, it's not as strong, it's much easier to wear, and it's got cherry and almond in it. So I think it smells a bit like a Bakewell tart without the pastry, which is, I don't like the smell of biscuits or pastry or anything in my perfumes. I don't like that kind of gourmand perfume, but this is gourmand in that it's like a sweet, it's like the frangipani that you get in the bottom of French patisserie, so it's like a beautiful vanilla-y almond paste kind of smell, and I don't mean Play-Doh. When I say almond paste, I mean an edible almond paste with a delicious sweet cherry jam. That's what I think this smells like. I don't really get much else going on in it. I think that if anything, maybe the violet stops it being too cloying, and maybe the cherry blossom is even adding to that cherry, but I love this. I wish I'd got a bigger bottle of it, but as you can see, I've got a billion perfumes, so probably it's not bad for me to not go too crazy. Now, next up, another absolute beauty. So this, no one will be surprised to see that I'm pulling out a Vera Wang Embrace perfume. So this is the Periwinkle and Iris from the Embrace collection. Now, this I think is the sweetest from the collection, which is why this is the one that I don't wear outside of like much cooler weather. The other ones I can wear not in high summer, but I can wear some of them towards the end of summer. Some of them I already started wearing before it started cooling down too much. This one I have to wait until it's actually quite cold because it's, to me, very sweet. So top notes here are bergamot and mandarin orange. Middle notes are iris, violet, periwinkle, jasmine. Base notes are whipped cream, sugar, vanilla and benzoin. So you can see for those base notes why it's so sweet, and it's beautifully creamy. I get in this when it's not quite so cold, I get a little bit more of the iris. But when it's cold, this to me is a sweet, creamy violet perfume. You get a little bit of that citrus in the top when you first spray it, but the general dry down of this I find to be a slightly powdery, which is probably thanks to the iris, slightly irisy, very soft violet sugared cream. Like it's like a chantilly cream, you know, like it's like a whipped cream that has icing sugar and vanilla mixed into it. It's absolutely lovely. It's so tasty, really comforting, but it's very, very sweet and syrupy, but it's light as well. So as with most of my perfumes, I don't really have many that are like gonna really knock people out, you know. These are all things that don't have beastly projection, they're just really lovely. Next up so I've gone for this one. This is Malizia bonbons and this is milk cake. So I've gone for this one, but I would say that when I describe this one, it smells very, very similar to the chocolate musk from Al Nuaim that I have as well, and I have that in a oil formulation. But I heard Sarah May's reviewing the spray, and the way she described the spray doesn't smell much like the actual oil does. So I don't know if she just has a very different taste to me when it comes to that one, or whether the spray is not as good. So I decided to put this one in because I think it smells so similar. And that, if you're British, you might know what I'm talking about. I think it smells like a Rolo dessert. So I think it smells like a really creamy, milky, caramelly kind of smell with a hint of chocolate. But there's something a bit UHT about this. So it's got a little bit of a UHT, slightly plasticky, milky smell. But I kind of love it in a weird way. I tend to wear the oil because I keep it next to my bed, but I figured this is quite cheap, and because you have to get that Al Nuaim from India most of the time, this is actually probably quicker and cheaper to get overall because you can get this from Europe, and it's pretty cheap. Or you can get it from you can get it from eBay, and I think including postage and packing, it's probably about £8. So it's just a weird little gourmand perfume that's actually designed for children, but I think it's just a really beautiful sweet skin scent that has a slight milky, caramelly, slight chocolatey vibe to it. Next up, we've got two left, and they're both pretty beastly, so let's just push all these so I've got a bit of space. Now then, this is a beast, I think. Yep, even smelling it from the thing. So this is Britney Spears Midnight Fantasy. This is so sweet and syrupy. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy in its sweet and syrupiness. I'm just going to make sure. I keep having to go in and brighten it because it's getting darker and darker outside. This, to me, smells exactly like a blueberry muffin with like a sugar crust on top. The more you wear it, I think the more it smells like a kind of a shampoo version of that smell. But it's very sweet, it's very syrupy. And despite not having blueberry in it, it just smells like blueberry muffins to me. So the top notes here are plum and sour cherry and raspberry. The middle notes are orchid, iris and freesia. Base notes vanilla, amber and musk. And I honestly, I don't know how it smells like a blueberry muffin, but it does. Yep, yeah, absolutely. It has that tangy blueberry, but it's so sweet and sugary, and it just somehow has a cakey vibe to it from those base notes. Yeah, and it's this is one that I really enjoy wearing, but it needs to be cold, and it needs to be not in too many enclosed spaces, because it's actually pretty beast mode, this one. It really lasts for ages, and it has projection, and people will smell it, and you will be very aware of wearing it all day. So yeah, it's pretty cute though. It's a really lovely one. And then last but not least, this is another one that's been discontinued, but you can definitely still get this, and for good prices. Woof. It's strong. This is the strongest floral that I have in my collection. This is called Poeme, and you can probably see from the gorgeous colour of this. Beautiful. Let me just try and make sure that this is actually visible. Poeme. That perfume is an absolute beast, and it's a 90s masterpiece. It is absolutely beastly though. You need a couple of sprays and it will last you all day, and it has a lot of projection, but it's kind of, I don't know, there's just something sweet and lovely and addictive about this. It also, to me, smells a bit honeyed, even though there isn't actually honey in it. So there are so many notes in this, they barely even fit onto my phone screen to read out. But top notes: narcissus, datura, peach, plum, Himalayan poppy, mandarin orange, blackcurrant, bergamot and green notes. Middle notes: mimosa, vanilla flower, tuberose, ylang ylang, orange blossom, jasmine, freesia, heliotrope, rose and leather. Base notes: vanilla, orange blossom, amber, tonka bean, musk and cedar. It is rammed with notes. It's rammed with flowers. This to me smells like a bouquet of sweet yellow flowers, sitting on a base of like a very beautiful sweet vanilla custard. Now I realise that sounds insane, but the first time I tried this I was like, damn, that's some beautiful flowers. Damn, that's strong, but that's some beautiful flowers. After about 5 minutes, quite a lot of jasmine, and I was thinking I'm not going to like it, too much jasmine. After about 20 minutes, like when I sniffed it again, or I could pretty much smell it all day once I'd tried it, because I tried it in the shop. It just had this custard vibe to it. It just had this sweet, custardy, vanilla-y lushness to it. And this is the current formulation. So this is the current formulation. This is one that you can get. I think I got this for £30. This is a 30ml. It's an eau de parfum, and it's a very, very strong. So this is one where I literally maybe one spray on my neck. In fact, it's actually, to me, it's so kind of pungent that I probably, more realistically, what I do is I spray it on my wrists and then dab it onto my neck, because you just put this on your wrists and you move your arm around, everyone will be able to smell it. It's so warm and beautiful. It's one of the nicest florals that I've ever smelt, which is why it's in my collection, because as you can probably tell, I don't have a huge amount of just floral perfumes, and this one is very, very special. Now, what I can say is, if you live somewhere where you can't get Poeme, let me just show. Look at the colour of that juice. Absolutely gorgeous. You can see why I said there's a honeyed vibe to this, and you can see it in the colour. If you can't get Poeme, the next best the next best thing to do, apart from getting, I think Sarah May said there's a Cuba perfume, so you might want to go and check her videos. There's a Cuba perfume that's a dupe of this, but Prada La Femme, the original La Femme, the one with the white kind of faux leather back of the bottle, that to me smells like a not as rich dupe of Poeme. It's like Poeme, the floral elements and the kind of honeyed vibe, and the slight waxy element that you get in this and that, because there's beeswax in that. It's that, but without the kind of custardy vanilla dry down. So it's like a more simplified and less transient version of Poeme, It has that same kind of smell to it. It just doesn't transition through the stages that Poeme does. It's kind of more Poeme in the middle, the kind of more jasmine-y kind of floral bit. And it doesn't then change into the kind of flowers sitting on custard kind of vibe that I get with Poeme. So I much prefer Poeme. I think it's much better value, and it's nicer. It's much more interesting. So if you can get Poeme, then absolutely try and get Poeme. If you can't get Poeme, Prada La Femme is a really good kind of, second choice, if you see what I mean. It's a safe bet. probably quite expensive, but I mean, it's if you like that kind of yellow, sweet yellow flower profile, and that's like beeswaxy honey kind of vibe, then definitely give Poeme or Prada La Femme a try. So yeah, this is my little group of things for my sweet and syrupy autumn winter perfumes, and I will be back as soon as possible with one that's spicy and woody, or like, you know, incensey, you know, that kind of smoky vibe. The ones that I consider to be kind of much more kind of cold weather for me, and maybe not quite as girly, maybe slightly more unisex sometimes, or like a little bit more intense, or a little bit more, what's the word for it, I guess just maybe slightly more interesting. No offense to all the sweet girls out there, and the sweet boys, and everyone who likes the sweet perfumes, but the kind of more left field and possibly less mass appealing ones will be in the next one. So yeah, I will be back soon, and I hope this was helpful in some way.